before Mark comes on, there was a clip that blew my mind. Like, I am susceptible to this also. So if I say something and then a clip is played of me later saying, Jamal is being a hypocrite, here's the clip of Jamal being a hypocrite, here's what he said, here's what he's saying now. Fair enough. We're all human beings. We all talk on media. But Chris Mathews, this is a bit rich coming out of Chris Mathews. MSNBC had his favorite fallen son, Chris Mathews, because Chris Mathews had a show on MSNBC. He had a show forever. But what took Chris Mathews off air, if you remember, was when Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders were running. Mathews was hosting like a debate night. He brings Warren onto the debate night, and he says something to her that is interpreted as him being sexist. Mathews was off the air. I'm going to play this clip for you, and I'm going to remind you of something that Mathews said that I often bring up because of how mind-blowing it is that a Democrat will say it about another Democrat or a person running in the Democratic Party. Listen to what Mathews says here. I am enamored by these Democrats who walk around saying, we need a Democratic Joe Rogan. We need a Democratic Tea Party. We need a Democratic Elon Musk, missing the basic fact that all of these people were Democrats. Joe Rogan voted for Bernie Sanders when Bernie Sanders ran as a Democrat. Elon Musk was a Democrat. All of these people were Democrats. Donald Trump was at Bill Hillary Clinton's, I think Chelsea Clinton's wedding or something to that effect. All of these people were Democrats. You had a Tea Party on the Democratic side. It was called Justice Democrats. I'm glad Sabrina reminded me of that. So when Chris Mathews says this, I want to remind you of a very basic point that Chris Mathews clearly has forgotten, that I will remember to my dying last breath because of its impact in regards to what it meant. It was a clarifying moment for me. I'll say it that way.
Are being flouted at the same time. Who is that person?
That's the question.
Well,
because it's not going to be founded from the legislative, the branch of the Senate or the House of Representatives. They're not fixed to pick an outside spokesman. Schumer's not an outside spokesman. Hakeem Jeffries turns out not to be an outside spokesman. So somebody has to come up. Chris Murphy's tried to do it, but he doesn't have the stature or the authority to do it. He's just another senator.
Buttigieg? He's got the skills.
Maybe, but he's running for president. He is running for president.
Oh, but that maybe.
Well, I mean, I think that's a fact. I don't know why they haven't put together a group and said, you guys, you people, speak for the party.
What he is referring to is that Democrats are at the lowest polling they have ever had or recorded on CNN. Meaning, in the history of CNN polling, the recent results were so low. They were at like 29%, just astonishingly low numbers. NBC's polling was even lower than that. Put that in context. The lowest result that they have ever had. And Chris Mathews, and having this conversation like, okay, what can we do about this? How can they change this? What can we, put together in order to make the party look better than what the party is and to give speech for the party? The outsider that you had, Bernie Sanders. Now, I'm going back to 2016, Bernie Sanders. And my point is, Sanders was not a Democrat. He was independent. He was running as a Democrat and being a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party when he ran, because he was running as a Democrat. He tried to give you something different than what you had. And the same Chris Mathews that is here now, looking for an outsider to speak for the Democratic Party. At the time when Sanders ran, I remember it exactly. He said, quote, maybe we need to lose to Trump because if Sanders wins it, he's going to take the party for a generation. So when 2016 Chris Mathews was looking at the outsider that he is screaming for now to speak for the political party, his response was, we need to put a knife in that guy. We can't let that guy win. Meaning they only want to win within certain boundaries. We want to win providing the candidate is like this. Okay, well, what happens when a candidate who's like this is not sufficient because the American public hates him, which is the reason you're at 29% right now? I'm only pointing out the level of hypocrisy, ludicrousness of Chris Mathews screaming for an independent figure to represent and speak for the Democratic Party because their polling is so low. And when they had the guy that was getting more kids, more blacks, more younger people to ungodly numbers, things that you would need to win, things that Kamala Harris needed to win that she didn't get, you put a knife in him. Fast forward, screaming for somebody to do what the guy was doing. I get it. Sanders is a flawed figure now on the left because many of us have this belief that we need to move beyond Sanders, that he's become somewhat of an impediment. And understand the reason we call him an impediment is because he ran twice. His result in running was the sheepdog, all of that energy, tens of millions of people into the Democratic Party when he did a half-ass run the second time around. And the first time around, I don't even think he thought he could win. You've had two chances. You've siphoned a huge amount of energy and goodwill from the base of the left, and you keep shoving it into a doghouse year after year after year. And the sad part and the sad truth is that he would do it again if he had the opportunity to run. That's the sad part. A lot of us are saying it has to be something else. There has to be something more. There has to be something beyond Sanders in regards to how the left organizes itself and how we move forward. I don't, for the life of me, know what that is. I've become so accustomed to the political system the way it is, just to be honest, that I can't see around it. I can think of what it may require, and I look at Trump and say, okay, some of these elements of Trump will be required in a candidate on the left also. And you must understand why I say that. As I told my mom, if the devil is doing something good, that is a fantastic thing to watch. If you're watching Vampire Diaries and you see a situation where Damon is doing something good, you're like, good. I like the fact that the devil is working in my interests. What I mean by that is you want and require somebody to not care, who hears the screaming at the political order in the way that the political order is organized, and to not care. That was not Sanders. It just wasn't him. He wasn't that guy. Sanders cared too much. And because he cared too much, he could be cowed and hobbled. And in the same way that he's willing to push all of his energy back into the Democratic Party, as opposed to saying, I will crash this boat if I need to crash this boat in order to get my political agenda accomplished. That is a tool of control and a tool by which he would have been hobbled in whatever task he was going to go with. He was too weak for the job. Now, if we are talking about a political revolution, we're talking about changing the existing political order. And if you're going to change any existing political order, you will get resistance. You will get screaming. Whether people can do something about it or not, you will get them yelling at the top of their lungs that you are doing something and you are destroying things. And your response has to be to not care or to deal with it in a political way where you still work towards that agenda. Trump gets in, I'm ending the war. You get screaming from one side of the political space. Trump doesn't care. And from the people who were in his political space were bent into shape. No, they don't agree with him. And no, they won't say anything about the fact that they disagree with him. You may get a random bird on Fox News complaining about something, but all things being equal, Trump has bent his party into shape and form because he is willing to use political power to go after anybody that is going to say anything against him. You may not like that. You may call the man a fascist. You may call him all sorts of names for doing so. But how else do you change a political order? It's that part. Meaning, you have an established system that the majority of the public doesn't like, say doesn't work, and doesn't accommodate their priorities. You require somebody who will change that established order and would accept the bitching and complaining from the people of that established order as that is bent into something else. I'm saying that you require Trumpian characteristics in a way that Sanders just didn't have, despite the fact that they always compared him to Trump. Whatever takes place on the left that is new in our political space will require some of those same characteristics in pursuit of other objectives. Sanders is not the guy. The point that I'm trying to make here, though, for Chris Mathews is that whether he is or not, he was given voice to a segment of the population where the energy was focused, meaning that was the fastest thing moving. And it was the fastest thing moving in the sense of the American public lumping onto it, the left lumping onto it, kids lumping onto it. All of those, and that energy is the same energy that they are lacking right now. It is almost like a transporter accident where the rough part of that person gets taken out. And the only thing you have is King Jeffries left over. I'm saying you need something else. I get Chris Mathews is screaming for something new. But when Chris liked something new, he didn't like that something new. He didn't like that something new. And I would tell you something else. Democrats are complaining. But again, they want somebody in their spectrum that would be willing or that may catch fire. The problem that I think they're having is there is nobody in their spectrum. Because in the spectrum to which they want, these liberals, nobody in America wants. That's the 29%. It's not about a messenger. It's about the substance of the messenger. And I'm saying that is the thing to which you are lacking. That is the thing to which you need. And that is the thing to which you repudiated when in 2016, it ran and gave voice to the best elements, or at the very least, the best stated elements of the political party that you no longer have at your disposal. It is a bit rich that Chris Mathews is now pondering, overtly saying, putting it into the universe. We need a messenger. We need a messenger. And just to be clear as to why, this is CNN reporting just utter devastation in regards to the way the American public is seeing the Democrats.
Spare all I have to say, Democrats, call your office. You know, we're March Madness times. Terrible, terrible, terrible. To quote the great Charles Barkley, view Democratic Party favorably. CNN SRS, look at this, 29%. NBC News, you want to go lower than that? How about 27%? Both are record lows, the lowest going back to 1992 in CNN polling, the lowest going back on record to 1990 in NBC News polling. The majority of Americans hold an unfavorable or negative view of the Democratic Party at this point. All I can say is I'm a big fan of the oldies, so I'm going to quote Chubby Checker. How low can you go?
Nice. Well,
how low can you go? How low can you go? The lowest in polling history for NBC and the lowest in polling history for CNN. That is where they are. That is where they are. And the best that you can get out of them is we need a better messenger. We need a better messenger. I just astonishing. It's not the message. It's not the messenger. It is the substance that is missing. And they don't see it. Look, I would tell you this. I had a conversation with a liberal. She was a doctor, and her and I used to fight like cats and dogs. She was a Democrat. She was a traditional Democrat. You would know what is going to come out of her mouth, depending upon what comes out of Rachel Maddow's mouth. I love her to death. She is gorgeous. She's in a bubble. And I remember having a conversation with her about Sanders, and her thing was like, oh, no, that's okay. I don't want him. I was like, okay, well, you lose. Like, look, man, this is not magic. It's not, you know, if I need something to walk, it needs legs in some fashion, some capacity. You're not going to have a ball walk because it doesn't have legs. There are mechanics that are required for things to work. It's not magic. Political parties are not magical devices. They also require things in order to work. It's like a human being. If I'm going to live, I need clean air. I need clean water. I need food. I need, sunlight. There are things that I require to actually function in the world in order to exist, to just be alive. I require things. I'm saying everything is that way. A cup is shaped a certain way so it can take water in so you can drink it. A car is built a certain way. It has wheels. It rolls in order you can drive it. I'm saying political parties are the same. They're not magical devices. They are structured legal fictions that are required certain things in order to function. Beyond the legalities, substance. is required. And I know they think that's not true because they've become so accustomed to the people swashing back and forth. And it may happen, but those people still will remain unhappy. I'm saying that it is the substance that is missing. The substance is the thing that they're getting wrong. They think that this is purely messaging, that they are so great, moral, ethical, that their values are so, emancipatory, that the issue is not anything to do with them. And I'm saying the issue has everything to do with them. Their values are not emancipatory. They've supported genocide for the last year and a half or 2 years. They've backed a war. They're still screaming like howler monkeys about maintaining a war that has been going on for the last 3 years that the U.S. pushed us into, and they can't necessarily be honest about it. On the domestic front, what have they done for you lately? Yeah, you get the New Deal, and yeah, you get Social Security, but that was 60 years ago. From the standpoint of workers, they voted for a billionaire. I'm saying that the issue is substance. A billionaire never wins a contest on the working class. If indeed that party was doing something that the working class would say, hey, this party is doing X and Y. People don't see it. They don't see it. Now, you can argue, well, it's because Republicans lie. Okay, well, every political party lies. It can't be that. You still would win in that context because every political party effectively does it. You have lost to a man that you call Hitler, that you call a fascist, that you call all of these things. Try to shoot him, try to put him in a cage, censorship as a weapon, lawfare as a weapon. These are things that the Democratic Party was effectively using. They've gone awry. They've gone awry. I'm just fascinated by Chris Mathews opining. Oh, we need a messenger. We need somebody to give the Democratic liberal message. And if they can give the message with passion and verve, then we can get people on our side. No. And I'm really out seeing something else, by the way. Obama. Obama was a supernatural political figure. And what I mean by that is he had better political instincts than, let's say, a Joe Biden, a Hillary Clinton, but he's not that different of a creature than either of those. It is purely because of his political instincts that he was able to effectively win twice. And even that is not keeping his political gravitas from ebbing, as you can see in the way that people view him, especially in the Black community. I'm saying that there's something fundamentally wrong with the party itself. It's not the individual actors, it is the party itself. And until they get to that, they're not getting anything. And Chris Mathews can be on MSNBC and opine all he wants about requiring a messenger, an American whisperer. It's the message, dude. That's the problem. It's missing substance. That's the problem. Chris Mathews is not going to see this video. I wish he did see this video. He's missing the boat. He's missing the point. All of them are missing the point. Everybody who's sitting on this network right now having this conversation is fundamentally and fully missing the point. They're missing the point. I'll play it one more time.
Out there and do that. I mean, I agree with you on Schumer. The Schumer question is a small part of this.
Yeah.
But, if you talk to people on the very progressive side of the Senate, they'll tell you it's a close call.
It's a close call.
And by the way, if we're sitting here 2 months after the government shut down and it's all being blamed on Democrats, the numbers will even be lower than we just saw.
That's why I agree. There should be an exciting a construct in which they push back on facts. On facts. Just stick to the facts.
Yeah, they're missing the boat. They're missing the boat. It's not about the facts. It's not about the facts. Because I don't think they went on the facts either. Domestically, maybe. And that's where Trump will go too far. And my fear, my deep, overwhelming fear, is that he goes too far. I don't want them to be able to point and say, hey, Social Security looks like it's collapsing because of what Donald Trump and Elon Musk is doing. And the public says, oh my God, Social Security is collapsed because of what Trump and Elon Musk is doing. So now we must vote Democrat in order to protect Social Security. I don't want that. I don't want them to be able to get the vote because people are sloshing back to Democrats. I don't want that. I don't want them to exist as a political entity if they're not going to represent Americans' interests. And yeah, I focus on Democrats because ultimately Republicans don't believe in this stuff. They don't use as their identifying marker that we are fighting for the working class. We're the everyman. Okay, well, they don't do that. Well, maybe they do it now, but that wasn't their ethos. That wasn't the thing to which they focused on. That wasn't who they were. And so in the political space, you get Democrats saying, we believe in these things. And it's like, okay, well, if you believe in those things, then you can be hit by the fact you're not doing those things. So yeah, I focus my ire on them because from my point of view, if anything is going to get accomplished in a political sense, where we move from point A to point B on issues of healthcare, education, Social Security, increase of minimum wage, etc., these lefty economic priorities, it's only going to come through one vehicle. That vehicle is missing tires. The hood is up. The engine is on fire. It is a pointless endeavor right now. Seeing a bunch of rich people on air talk about a political party that is supposed to represent the working class, and they seem to think everything is great. And I imagine everything is great for Chris Mathews. I'd imagine everybody on there is very well paid, very comfortable, and talk about how great the party is, that the public just doesn't see it. And they just require a messenger to say, hey, I know this car is on fire. I know the hood is up. I know the paint is tarnished. I know it's missing wheels, but it's a fantastic vehicle. You just are going to love it once you get to know it. Dude, no. Just no. Absolutely, entirely, 1000%. No. Just no. I want to go to the